Hello, knife nerds. Here's a quick review of another, yes, it's from China. By the way, hit like, hit subscribe, especially hit subscribe, make a comment. It costs you nothing, it takes mere seconds, it helps a brother out here. Trying to grow the channel, and if you like the content, find any kind of value, go ahead and click the button, help me out. That out of the way. I've been toying with the idea of getting an actual Sebenza, and I think at some point I probably will. But right now, I'm still playing with some of the clones, and you know, some of the ones that are similar in design, just to see if I like the format before I go spending $500 on something. As I did with the Medford Praetorian clone for 29 bucks, decided I actually liked it, so I went ahead and ordered it. Of course, it's going to take a year to get it. But, you know, sometime in 2023, I guess I'll get the damn knife I paid for 4 months ago. Be that as it may, such a small price to pay for excellence, I guess. I found another Sebenza-ish clone, but it's not really a Sebenza clone. There's some definite differences, but you can tell where they kind of borrowed it from. This is from a new company, another Amazon made in China company that I haven't played with before, but probably made in the same factory as the others. And it's a company called Sitivien, something like that. Sitivien. I don't know. I'll get you the link in the description. And it's kind of interesting. This one was $29.99. It is on ball bearings. It is using D2 steel, G10. We'll go over some of the additional specs in a moment, but it's in that similar vein as the Land. This one is the 910 using 12C27 Sandvik. This is another one of the clones that is Sebenza-ish. It's not exactly a clone. I mean, it's got a similar blade design, but this sports G10 handles. It's not a frame lock, it's a liner lock. So there are some differences. It's 8 different materials. They're not putting Chris Reeves' name on it. But clearly it's borrowing from the lines, at least the profile, even though the handle construction is different, the materials are different, the blade steel is different, the branding's different. It's obviously borrowing from that design. And even one of my other knives from the James brand, this is an American company, but I believe they use Reich or Riat, which are either of those, I think, are Reich is who I think Microtech's using for their SOCOM Bravo. I think these guys are using Riat, R-E-A-T-E, and Riat is a phenomenal knife maker. They do a lot of their own custom work. They're also like an OEM manufacturer. So basically, they have their own designs and designers in-house, and they partner with American custom knife makers who want to make knives, but more for the masses. And they don't want to, you know, they need to mass produce them, and they don't want to have to hand make them, you know, as a full custom and sell them at, you know, $1,000, but they can go to a company like Riat and say, here's the materials, here's exactly how I want you to make it, and let's sell it at $250, right? And that's what Microtech's doing with Reich and other things. But the James brand is a company that designs their own knives, and then they just farm out the manufacturer to Riat. And if you look at that, that's got kind of a Sebenza-ish profile to it too. It's not exact, it's not a copy, they're not trying to make it a copy, but you can see where that knife was definitely inspired by that. Well, this new one from this company, Sitivien, is also similar to that. Similar line, similar profile, but not exact. There's some different contouring here. This also uses the axis lock, and the blade grind is a little different. Actually, it's a really nice blade grind there with that kind of, I guess, I don't know if you call that a swedge, but it's definitely a cool design element to it. And then you've got your whatchamacallit, your axis lock. Now that Benchmade's patent run out, everybody's making axis locks now because it is a good lockup system. So how is it? The weight on this, let's see if they got the specs out here. It is a D2 blade. It's about 3.5-inch blade. Well, let's go ahead and throw it down here and we'll get an exact. Yeah, we're at 3.5-inch at the blade. Cutting edge is about 3 1/4. Yeah. Overall length is 7 3/4, 7 7/8, somewhere in there. It's stainless steel liners, and they are milled under there, so you can see just to help lighten it up a little bit. And it's got some nice G10 scales. You've got a little backspacer here, deep carry pocket clip, which is not reversible. So it's tip up, right hand only. Sorry, lefties. Tension on it's good. It's nice and deep. I like the fact that this does not point out in any way, so it does not create a hot spot. I mean, you can feel the bar there, but there's nothing, everything's chamfered properly. That point doesn't hook up at an angle where it would push into the palm of your hand if you were to grab it tight. So no hot spots. A little bit of jimping, and it's not super aggressive, but because it's actually ramped, it actually works pretty well. Sharpening choil is minimal, no finger choil. You do have a little bit of contour there, again, just to help lock in your grip a little bit. But it's a very nice, comfortable knife. It doesn't give a weight, does it? 3.92 ounces. Blade thickness, that it doesn't give. It says it's D2 steel, hardened to 5961. I have no way of testing that here. Do a little sharpness test. Yeah, plenty sharp. Does it do a push test? Nope. Not quite sharp enough for the push test. That's okay. Most of my knives fail the push test. Some do, but I would say only about 25%. And it's not always the high-end ones. Sometimes the high-end knives don't do it any better than the cheap ones. So it's probably has something to do more with blade geometry or something. But in any case, size comparison compared to my petrified fish beluga, that is a big boy, much heavier. That is on the big end of the scale for EDC. This is going to be more on lines with the CJRB Scoria. So it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit thicker, but size-wise, it's not that much different. Actually, it's a tiny bit shorter. This is a little bit thinner, and this has a machine pocket clip, but you're also paying $50, which still isn't a lot of money, but it's $20 more than this, so it's 40% more, 42%, whatever. You do the math. It's a nice little knife. Very comfortable. Reverse grip is nice. Your thumb, there's no sharp edges. Your thumb just kind of rolls around it, actually curls. That edge contours right perfectly with the thumb. How do I like it? Well, there's no blade play, which there shouldn't be because it is ball bearings. I don't know if they're steel or ceramic. Does it say? It just says ball bearings. Axis lock bearing knife, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, doesn't say. Lockup is tight. I've seen with some of the Axis locks, including on my Benchmade bug out, that when you open it, there is a tiniest hint of a little bit of a wiggle there. Not left to right, but where that locking bar mates against the back of the blade on the blade stop. Here, it's tight. Now, I will say that makes there a little more friction here so that this action, although it's also a stronger spring, isn't as smooth and effortless as the Benchmade. It takes a little more pressure because there's a stronger spring, as well as that little bit of friction there. But that little bit of friction means there's not a thousandth of an inch gap that lets it rock a tiny bit like it does on the Benchmade. So the Benchmade feels smoother, but this actually locks up better and locks up tighter. But as soon as you pull that in, the blade drops free. So you can open it with the thumb. You can also just flick it with that. That's a very cool design. You know, when I feel this up against the land was only a couple dollars cheaper, but the land feels just a little cheaper. This feels, if you've ever had a Spyderco Tenacious, that's their value line, this feels kind of more like a Tenacious. Decent little knife, but it's a frame lock. Liner lock. When you close it, it takes a little longer. The benefit of this is it closes just very easily. So you open it just as easily, but you don't have to shift your grip to unlock it and then use that finger to you just boop, throw it in your pocket. So I like this Axis lock a little bit better than I like on the land. The land is probably a little bit more Sebenza-ish than this, but again, they're all kind of, well, those three are all kind of Sebenza-ish. But this is an interesting company. I've seen some of their other designs. They look really nice. The grinds are really nice. There's no sharp edges here. You know, they've done a good job of cleaning things up. There's a little bit of machining there on the thumb stud. Branding is kept to a minimal. You just got their logo, and you got that, the model ST-124 D2 steel. No branding on the pocket clip. It's a nice little knife. I like this a lot. So, and I said that there's very few knives that I don't like, but it's got a nice, very stabby point. It's got a little bit of curve there to it, not Bowie-ish or clip style, but you know, you got a little bit of that curve. Nice bit of belly. This should be a good slicer, high flat grind, and the grind is actually quite beautiful. They've done a really good job on that. So the G10 looks good. Nothing in there that needs cleanup. I mean, everything, it's a well-made knife. Let's make us say, oh, it's China, whatever. Whatever, I'm tired of having that argument. It's a well-made knife. For $30, this is a hell of a pocket knife. So I'll put a link in there. In the hand, it feels a little better. This has more of a square edge, which for some reason I'm feeling on the edge of my face. It's not uncomfortable, but this is just a little slimmer. That feels just a little bit better. So, and I like the lock. It's easy to open and close. Not that this is hard. It's just extra steps. You know, you open it the same, but then you got to shift your grip and do that. Quicker, more convenient, more along the lines of my James brand. Now, here's the thing. The James brand one I bought, this is like a $160 knife or something like that, $140 knife. It's VG10, which is going to be a step up from this, but it's not like S35 VN. This thing's just on washers. And you'll notice that the action isn't as smooth. I mean, it's not hard, but this thing out of the box, I've used that knife before. So just because you're paying more doesn't mean you're always getting more. It's still G10. It's only VG10 steel. Similar construction. I mean, there's some touches to it that are a little nicer. But is this knife worth 5 times that? No, not really. I wouldn't say so. Anyway, that is the Sitivien ST-124. Definitely a cool knife. I'm definitely going to check out their other designs. They've got some cool designs. So that's right in that sweet spot. It's big enough for my hands for EDC. I can get my full mitt on it. But, you know, it's not a tank like this. This is a nice knife, too. This is a wicked sharp slicer with that big belly. So this is a great knife. But, you know, that's a big lump of tool in your pocket. Surprisingly light for the size that it is, but still. Anyway, and that's a front flipper, which I'm not as crazy about. So check it out. I've got another knife review coming. It's going to be a Lion Steel Barlow. It made in Italy, shipped from Italy. It's going to have sheep's foot blade, 3-inch blade, and M390. It's a nice little Barlow. That should be here arriving, I think, tomorrow. So keep your eyes open for that. Yeah, that's what I got for today. Hope you enjoyed. Leave your comments. Tell me what your thoughts are.